Hello, this is the Irish Guy Action. Don't worry, I am going to do a full Champions League recap on the Irish Guy main channel tomorrow, but I'm sorry. I just needed a quarter of the internet to just crawl up in a ball and cry. Fully just weep, because I'm sorry. Last night, Newcastle travelled to Marseille. And look, I know Marseille are a big club with a passionate fan base, but I didn't know they were such nutters. This video is just to wail and scream about Nick Pope. Lads, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. He's a good shot stopper. But he's a goalie who belongs in the 90s. He's not a Champions League elite goalkeeper, not in a million years. Because yes, what a shot stopping is very, very good. His decision making is that of a drunken toddler. Seriously, lads, the amount of times he has a rush of blood to the head and comes charging out of his box like a demented Superman, it's crazy. That you'd think he would have learned, because rushing out of his box cost him a League Cup final 2 years ago. Because he came out and handballed it miles outside his own box against Liverpool. Fine. You can write off one stupid instance of Pope clearly leaving his brain on the coffee table, but last night, we're 1-0 up. It's 20 seconds into the second half. Aubameyang is being forced wide by Malik Chow 50 yards from goal. He's hurtling towards the corner flag, and Pope, for some reason, decides to get involved. He comes hurtling out of his box for no reason and allows Aubameyang to perfectly place a shot, just bending it around him and into an empty net. It was a good finish from Aubameyang at a tight angle, but I'm sorry, Pope, what are you doing? You can't do this on Champions League nights away in a hostile environment. Because guess what? Suddenly, the whole crowd are just buzzing, brimming with excitement, and 4 minutes later, of course, Aubameyang scores a second, and guess what? The game is lost. Such a winnable match, because this Marseille team, they're not great. It's Marseille. They're fine. But they had a 17-year-old starting the match midfield. Like, come on. Newcastle should have had enough. We have the money, the Premier League money, to be able to overpower a team like Marseille. But no. For those... It's probably the biggest example of naivety I've ever seen from a new Champions League team. The defending and that for the first 10 minutes of that second half, it was a joke and inexcusable. You can't go away from home to a stadium where your own fans have been told to rot in their hotel rooms because it's that scary a place. Seriously, lads, the stuff you read about Marseille in the media, you'd swear it was hell. I don't believe the press. I'm sure Marseille is fine. If I went to Marseille, I'm not expected to get beaten up in a coffee shop just for, I don't know, having weird fingers. Like, no, I'm not expecting for someone in a French Costa coffee to spit on my face because I asked for jam with my scone. Like, they're trying to make it sound like Marseille is being run by werewolves. It can't be that bad a place. Oh, Nick Pope, what are you doing? Eddie Howe seems to love him so much. This doesn't really make sense. How is such a blind loyalty to Pope, even though he keeps messing up. So much so, you'd swear he was in a Mr. Bean episode. He keeps doing this. Every game away from home now, Pope is at fault for something. He makes some sort of clown show mistake, but he always keeps his place. Look, I am no massive advocate of Aaron Ramsdale. I'm not, okay? And yeah, his admissions in the past that he gets bored in net and can't keep his concentration, that is a wild red flag. Soon after he said that on a podcast, his Arsenal career went up in flames. So yeah, I'm not saying that I'm desperate to have Ramsdale be the starting goalie for Newcastle, because he's probably not good enough either. But what he is, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's probably a safer pair of hands than Pope. Literally. Like, I know the Newcastle #1 target in the summer was James Trafford. But Eddie Howe was so in love with Pope, I'm not even totally sure that Trafford would have seized the #1 shirt at Newcastle either. He seems to love Pope so much. Why? Look, you can get away with being a good goalie, but a weak kicker if you're at a struggling Premier League club, but not a Champions League one, and certainly not on Champions League nights. No, and this is the end result. I mean, this had nothing to do with kicking, though. This is just to do with him racing out of his net, and I've no idea why. You can literally see in the slow-mo, as Aubameyang is drifting past him to score into an empty net, Pope is literally shouting at him. That's his last resort, his last hope. The last hope of Pope is just to scream and shout in Aubameyang's face. That's the last thing. A bit like a bewildered mum who doesn't know how to get through to her crazy, demented exorcist child. So she just... instead of confiscating all his toys or sending him to his room, she's just shouting at him, begging him not to throw shepherd's pie at the cat. He has to be dropped, okay? I'm saying it now. Eddie Howe has to drop him. Far be it from me, an Irish goblin with brain power of melted cheese. Far be it from me to tell a cup-winning manager what to do, because Eddie Howe is an elite boss. But if there's one thing that's letting him down, it's his loyalty to his favourites. He has favourites. He does. He had it at Bournemouth, and that's apparently, the Bournemouth fans tell me, okay, no, they don't, I just read their comments on the YouTube videos, but yeah, they tell me that his loyalty to his favourites at Bournemouth was what sent them down in 2020. Look, I know Dan Burn has been a complete legend, and I would love to see Dan Burn in the team too, but not at left back. Not at left back, not at left back, not at left back. He's way too big and tall. It's like putting a fridge at left back. Now, this is where things get tricky, because yes, Burn will forever be in my heart for that cup-winning goal, but he's not in the top 2 best centre-backs of the club right now. That is Botman and Chow. So as unfair as it might seem, and I know, if Eddie Howe were to bench Burn, that he'd be costing him his World Cup spot, and that would create unbelievable levels of friction between Howe and Burn. It would, okay? Burn would be... Imagine, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to a World Cup with England at the age of, 33? And for Howe to jeopardise that after Burn helped him win a cup, the first trophy of his career, it would be tough, okay? It would be a ruthless decision from Eddie. It would be. He'd be drowning Burn's dream World Cup in a soggy bin. So that's why I think Eddie wants to shoehorn him in at left back. But guess what? Guess what, Eddie? In doing that, you're also jeopardizing Lewis Hall's World Cup dream, because I think the 2 English fullbacks at the next World Cup, starting 11, should be Tino and Hall. We saw them both rampaging up and down against Man City. The amazing symmetry that they have. It paid off with a win over City, the best team in the country. Okay, Arsenal fans are going to hate that, but I honestly believe that Man City, when they get everything clicking, they are pretty unstoppable. And Tino and Hall were amazing against them. And I think having that symmetry of a full-back pair who know each other inside out, play for club, if they can translate that into international form, that's what Tuchel needs at the next World Cup, I think. But if you just keep trying to appease Burn by lumping him in at left back, you're doing nobody any favours. Because Burn doesn't even like playing left back. He's not good at it. And Hall is a natural, I think, potentially elite left back who should be starting for England at the next World Cup. But that's never going to happen if you keep picking this absolute Geordie horse. And I say that with love, okay? Because I do love Dan Burn, but he ain't a left back. He knows he's not a left back. And Pope is not a Champions League goalie. So those are my 2 things. My 2 requests Eddie Howe. And I know, it's very rich of me to ask Eddie Howe for anything. He's already given me so much. Look, he's made calls in the past which I've disagreed with on paper. Okay, when he sold Saint-Maximin, I even told Eddie in a coffee shop soon after that. I said to him after the PSG win that I was unsure of what he was doing when he sold Saint-Maximin, because, I mean, Saint-Maximin wasn't quite up there in terms of my Ben Arfa levels of fandom etched within my soul forever. But I did love him. He's a dribbler who refuses to pass the ball. That is me to a T. I love it. I love it. And whenever people scream at me to pass the ball, I can always point to someone like Ben Arfa or Saint-Maximin and say, well, why don't you ask them to pass the ball? They did. No, they did plenty of times. That's literally, you understand. Ben Arfa, like, people like me, like greedy, selfish footballers like me, we love Ben Arfa, but there's plenty of Geordies who were so frustrated with him and wanted him to go. Anyway, yeah, it annoyed me when he left Newcastle for the bench at Hull, and but at least he was okay, because he soon justified the fact that I loved him so much, because he got himself a dream move to PSG. That went terribly, but less said about that. But Saint-Maximin, I remember saying repeatedly that he was a world-class footballer. Eddie sold him, and I thought Eddie was insane to do so, to replace him with Harvey Barnes. Yeah, Harvey Barnes has now scored 5 goals in his last 7 games. He scored his 4th brace for Newcastle so far, something Maxi never came close to doing. That's 4 games where Harvey Barnes is hunting down a hat-trick goal. And they were against big teams too. West Ham, Man City, Man United, Benfica. That was the guy to replace Saint-Maximin. A far less talented footballer, sure, he is. Harvey Barnes is about as exciting as bloated milk. But he's got more end product. And that's what Eddie was thinking. And it was the right decision. Because Saint-Maximin, he's since gone off to splutter and choke in Saudi, Fenerbahce, now plays in Mexico. And the last I heard of him was a couple of days, him having to reject a call-up to the Haiti national team. I mean, to be fair, it would be a shortcut to an actual World Cup, so that would be glorious. I'd love to see Maxi play for Haiti at a World Cup. That would be amazing. But no, to be fair to me, said no because he's not Haitian or Haitian. I don't know. Don't ask me. I still say Dr. Congo. But look, I'm not saying that I'm absolutely right here because I thought I was right to moan about buying Barnes and selling some Maximin, and that paid off. So I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong. Look at me. When compared to Eddie Howe, I have got the footballing IQ of a loaf of Spanish bread. Not sure Spanish bread is particularly intelligent. Let's say a squashed mouse then. That's me when compared to Eddie Howe. But I'm telling you, I'm still going to say it. I'm still going to scream it out my nose. Please, please, please drop Nick Pope. Aaron Ramsdale is a perfectly good goalie. And I know you'll be choking Nick Pope's World Cup dream. You'll be destroying that. And maybe that's why Howe is showing loyalty to Byrne and Pope, because he doesn't want them to miss out on the World Cup. But guess what? You've known Aaron Ramsdale longer. You had him at Bournemouth years and years ago. So, do you want him to miss out on the World Cup? I'm just saying. He pulled off a wonder save against Spurs in the Cup. Please, please give him a start against Everton. And please, let's have no more of this Nick Pope nonsense. Anyway, that is the end of it. Again, this was supposed to be a toned down video on the Irish Extra. It really was. This channel is supposed to be like a chat between me and you. And by the way, I might start doing some live streams where we can actually have a chat. But yeah, no, this was just a rant, wasn't it? It was just, yeah, I'm sorry, lads. I'm sorry, but that game last night, it fried my brain. But anyway, that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give an extra plays. I'll waffle you in a while.